Hey, so what's good, YouTube? Welcome to the channel, your girl Natasha Nisha. In this one, I'll be unpacking the Olympic Games and sharing my thoughts, just trying to understand some of the symbolism that we see at the games and share some of my favorite sporting disciplines, what I'm looking forward to, and basically just all round of what I've learned about the games recently. As we know, like the Olympic Games is a sporting event, the highest in the world, basically, where we celebrate the spirit of unity in competition, in sport. And it actually should only be about sports, but there's so many things that influence this event. Things such as the times where we are currently, and this is also in relation to the political situation currently in the world, and then also scripturally where we are. The scripture tells us that currently we are in the last days. So all these things influence and affect this Olympic Games, and basically, like, or some of the things that also affect some of the things that we celebrate at the games, like, where we are culturally right now as humanity, as a human race, and the things we honor, respect, and uphold, the things, the standards we live by today. All these encompass the Olympic Games as well. Just a little what I've learned about the games, that okay, it's held every 4 years, and then the Olympic Games is actually Greek in origin, is what I've learned, where we celebrating there, like, unity, diversity in sport, inclusion, freedom, all things like that, the human spirit, fairness in competition, and just like, celebrating also some of the limits, the personal limits that these athletes had to overcome, along their journey to this place. So the Olympic Games itself is very ceremonial, very traditional. It's a long held tradition, um, being passed on now over many years. And there's also the light, the torch, where there's the light bearers along the way. And even to open the games, we open by lighting the torch, as was done historically already in these sporting games. So this Olympic Games is like 2 weeks of competing, and then there's the opening ceremony and the close ceremony. So just over 2 weeks. And there's so much. We have the symbol of the Olympic Games, and that is the 5 rings. Now, these 5 rings separate or represent the 5 continents from which the athletes travel to compete, to participate. So, the blue ring we find is Europe. Then there's the black ring, sorry, which is Africa, and the red ring, which symbols America, USA, and in the yellow ring, which symbols Asia, and the green ring, which symbols Australia. So these are the 5 rings, and in the motto for the Olympic Games is originally in Latin, but if you're going to translate it in English, what it's saying is faster, higher, stronger, together. So this is in relation to sports. So, yeah, so as a result, we find like there's all colors, all continents, all creeds, and all countries who come together in unity to participate at these games. So it opens with an opening ceremony, which we had now the other day, July the 26th. 2024 is the start, was the opening of the Paris Olympic Games. This year our host is France, Paris, in Paris. And these games run till August the 11th, 2024, represented will have 10,500 athletes at this year's one, and these are from 206 countries, and this will be followed later by the Paralympics, which will be in Paris as well, and there will be 4,400 athletes expected to participate there in the Paralympics. So we get like millions of spectators, in stadia, and thousands, even more, millions more television viewers, which are expected, to cheer on their favorite athletes. So basically we had the opening ceremony the other day, and the opening ceremony usually is very symbolic. There was tons of ritualistic things, and this year's feature we had like a setup or a portrait of the Last Supper, which many Christians were offended as it was mocking as usual, and there was also the pale horse. Now, we find in Revelation 6 and 8 there where it speaks of the pale horse. This is the fourth horseman of the apocalypse, and this horseman represents death. I'm just going to read quickly Revelation 6 and 8, and there it says, and I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and its rider's name was Death, and Hades followed him, and they were given authority over a fourth of the earth, to kill with sword, and with famine, and with pestilence, and by wild beasts of the earth. So there is just something to think about, however you will. But then, so that's some of the unpacking of the opening ceremony. So we had the Last Supper, as I said, there was the pale horse, there was also the minions. Some thoughts of the minions, is the minions maybe another mockery of the masses? I don't know. But either ways, yeah. And then there's tons of celebs present as well. And there was the song Imagine, which was played by a pianist there. And I just want to share some of the words of that song Imagine. Now, in that song Imagine, it goes on to say, imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. And I hope someday you will join us, and the world will be as one. So this speaks to the new world order and the one world religion, one world governance, where there is no individual countries, one world governance in relation to laws and rules. And this speaks also to some of the World Economic Forum's plans as well, where they say there will be no personal ownership. You will own nothing and be happy, is some of what Klaus Schwab has said. And own nothing is like no homes, no cars, no personal property. And the song goes on even to say, like, there's nothing to kill or die for. And I don't know if that's the solution, having no property and no homes. I don't know if that's the solution to all this killing and theft of people's belongings and all the inequality we find in the world today. Either ways, like the no personal ownership, for me is like almost then equivalent to no personal life and no freedom, you know. And then as a result, now man becomes robotic, a slave, and you know, being now just told what to do by the ruling elite of the time. So I don't know, but either ways, the song continues on to say, "You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Imagine no possessions, no need for greed or hunger." Here again, they on with this greed or hunger thing, you know, and I don't know if no possessions is a solution to the issues of greed and hunger. And then they also in the song speak of peace. I don't know if this is just a false peace that many will buy into this idea, you know, thinking that it will bring peace. But then at the same time, if there's no choice and freedom, how can you ever have peace? And I mean, were we even given the opportunity to decide if this is what we want? Either ways, there's so much with that. You can Google the lyrics of the song Imagine that was played there on the river scene by the pianist at the opening ceremony, you know, just for your own personal research. So another point that I have is just also to celebrate the host country, you know, Paris, France, and Paris City, which is hosting. And there's so many things that they've given to the world, and I just want to take a moment to celebrate them. And even at this game, we find opening ceremony as well. It is a celebration of their history, their culture, their roots, their loves, and what they share, you know, with the world. So some of the things that come to mind for me when I think of Paris, France, is some of their landmarks, namely the Eiffel Tower or the Tower of Pisa, the Leaning Tower of Pisa as it's also known. Then there's the river scene. I pray that my pronunciation is correct. Um, that beautiful river, and each of the countries participating, the participants were on boats, you know, down the river. So that was beautiful there. And then some things that are French, and French um, is the French baguettes that we know, those long bread rolls. We know of the ratatouille, is this French. And from history again, we have Marie Antoinette, the French ruler there, who was found guilty of treason, etc., and other things at the time of the French Revolution thereabouts, and some other things that are French that we celebrate is like the French fashion shows, the French flamboyance, the beautiful gowns, etc. And can we not mention the French or world renowned, known for their wines, their champagnes, um, and the winery. And we had Celine Dion there, French Canadian, who also performed at the opening ceremony. So there is just something in which I came to mind as we celebrate the host country, Paris, as the capital city of France. So basically, these games is like you know, about the athletes and the various sporting disciplines they perform in. And you know, for many of these athletes, this is a dream come true, to have the honor to represent their country, you know. It's history making, it's like a great feat. And even if you just able to perform at this level, you're already a winner, I say, And we know also that the winners there are rewarded with the medals, which is the gold, the silver, your bronze medal. And we know all these participants as well are the like best in the world. And a lot of the games itself, the Olympic Games, is very traditional, man-made traditions are very, very old. And there's something that's very about man-made traditions. Many times man-made traditions tend to oppose God's word and God's will. So it's always something to be wary of for me personally when it comes to man-made traditions, and like this can also look like issues that can arise, maybe like in pride can come up, in maybe the ability or the talent or the skill of uh, an athlete, they can, as we now celebrate them, they can be come filled with pride, and even a country, if maybe their home country seems to excel, then there can be that pride. And these pride things are good to a certain extent because it keeps us in the flesh state, and then we cannot tap into the higher things of God, the higher nature that God calls us to when we're stuck in this fleshly, earthly thing, and the pride of life, the lust of the eye, etc., that come with that. So there's so much that we celebrate as well at um, these events, and it also has me question like where the world stands today, like because in society in general, there is this drop to degeneracy now, where we're celebrating a lot of the bad in society, where we start calling good evil and evil good. So that is something that I find, always just to look out for. And then back to the Olympic Games, some of the sports that I personally enjoy, watching, or the sprinting, the sprint, and we know there's the Jamaica and the USA team which have been rivaled over the years, always head to head, and like some of the very best out there, rivals, but not in a negative way. That's what I also love about the spirit of the Olympic Games. It's fairness and inclusion, and it's all done. It's like a sport. We celebrate the sportsmanship and what have you. There's none of the negative things that come from competing. Some of the sports I love are the gymnastics. I love the synchronized swimming. I love the diving as well. Swimming in general, water sports, as I am able to swim, love swimming. It's been a while, but yeah. Something others interesting things for me, sporting disciplines, or the chess. We always say we play chess, not checkers. So I wouldn't mind watching some of the chess. Then fencing, the fencing, that's a very interesting discipline as well. There's your darts, you can find skateboarding. I think that's actually fairly new, they added, but there's tons. There's your cycling, there's your tennis, there's your darts, the dots, and there's your either whichever one it as, soccer or football. So there's tons of disciplines to watch and enjoy in the games. So some random things that I learned that recently that have occurred at the Olympic Games is that there was a coach who actually died, who passed away a boxing coach who passed away on the first day at the opening ceremony. I don't have much more on that, but then also I read up somewhere that there were power outages in Paris at the time of the Olympic Games. And personally, for me, this one seems to be strategic and intentional because all eyes are now like on Paris during this World Game, and especially with the current political environment that we have, in Europe with the war and what have you. Maybe it's just a way to, you know, um, make the people more aware of this stuff, power outages, and I think that it will be a way. It will be more common in the future. Like in the third world countries, we've experienced this now for quite a while now. Africa, we've had your load shedding and what have you, and in Europe as well, especially as a result of war, they currently are now experiencing many more power outages. And as I said, I think that's going to be the way forward also. So there's just that. And as we know, the scripture says Babylon will fall. And there's so much of the New World Order and the WWF's plans, which are currently being set up, before our eyes. And it's no longer even hidden. This is a little bit off topic. But either ways, I'm just going to tie it in with this with the Olympic Games, because these are some of the rituals and symbolism that we have seen at the opening ceremony. So I just want to unpack a little bit of this as a result. So we see that these things have been set up before our eyes. It's no longer even hidden. The plans of the WEF and the New World Order with things like the RFID chip that is very prevalent in Europe, Sweden, and many of the countries there already. There's the VAC passports as well, and the CBDCs. So all these things are, in line with the World Economics Plan. So also we find that there's many policies being signed into law, with or without public knowledge and public consent. They're just signing laws and they're fairly silent on a lot of this, and it's not really made public knowledge that we can speak up to prevent these laws being passed. There's so many people who are in allegiance. It's the politicians as well as some of the celebrities are being used here to bring all this, into effect. As I see here in South Africa, like it will affect the education. There's this like Bella bill for school kids where now the government has more rights than the parents over these children, these children which are school going age, and in regards to what they learn, in regards to even their bodies. And there's loads of LGBTQ influence to children who are still young and impressionable. But either ways, we all come to that stage, that awkward stage where your hormones are playing out and you're so uncomfortable in your body yourself and not sure who you are, where you fit in, where you want to be, and haven't fully come to the place where you accept yourself. And this is where the youth, the children, are so vulnerable and super impressionable, and then they're getting influenced in a negative way. And we know how they've taken God out of the school. So there's so much of that. But either ways, just in closing, that there is these 4 pillars that the New World Order hope to influence, and that is a political one. That is the control of the world, the country, in relation also to the rules, the law, the rule of law, basically. And then they also want to have a great influence on the the education, the political is with the control and the rule of law, and then there's a the societal, in regards to society and how we you know live our daily lives. In regard to church and religion can also fall under the societal one, and even our social media can fall under the societal one. And we see how they've roped in now AI. We see how they've roped in AI, like um, in relation to their plan to unite the world, and these various, policies that they are putting into effect. And then finally, there's the financial aspect of our lives also, which will be influenced now by the New World Order and the World Economic Forum. So those are just some things to look out for. And yeah, so this was all very much here, but I just hope that you found some value. Either ways, the Paris Olympics is about the athletes who put in so much hard work. So and this is like a once in a lifetime shot for many of them. So just wanna support them, and yeah, I just want to support them. And then this is just me unpacking some of the latest, in relation to all things Paris Olympics 2024. And this has been me, your girl, Natasha Nisha. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.